My name is Stuart Lieberman. I'm from the law firm of Lieberman, Blecker, and Sinkovich in Princeton, New Jersey. We are what's regarded as an environmental and land use law firm. Thank you very much for joining me. What is an environmental law firm? Well, I can tell you what our firm is. We started in 2000. It started with myself and Shari Blecker. Michael Sinkovich came along later as a partner, and we have several really good associates with us as well. Our offices are located in Princeton, New Jersey. So if you ever want to stop by our office, we'd be happy to have you. Most people don't know what environmental law is. I'm here to tell you. Environmental law is it's the intersection of science and law. It deals with the kinds of things that you see sometimes in National Geographic: environmental cleanups, water pollution cleanups, global warming, environmental justice. It's an entire area of law based on science, based on policy, and based on the environment. What does an environmental law firm do? What do we do? What do we all do who are in this business? First, we work with the DEP, which is the Department of Environmental Protection, and the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency here in New Jersey, as well as similar agencies in New York. We work with them in terms of penalty enforcement cases, cases involving cleanups, cases where they're assessing penalties. We don't like penalties. Our clients don't like penalties, but it happens. Sometimes we have to litigate against these agencies. We do that kind of work. DEP penalty cases. I mentioned it a minute ago. Every environmental agency works through a system of enforcement, and when they feel that a member of the regulated community is out of compliance, they issue penalties. Sometimes you need a lawyer to go to court. Sometimes it's a superior court. Sometimes it's a special court called the Office of Administrative Law, so we can try to come up with a fair penalty or try to have the penalty knocked out altogether, depending on the facts and circumstances of your case. Underground storage tank cases. Well, underground storage tanks store everything from heating oil in residences to chemicals that may or may not be safe for the environment in large-scale industrial applications. When they leak, it's not a good thing, and you often need an environmental cleanup company. Sometimes you need to figure out, how are we going to pay for this cleanup? Are we going to be able to sue the manufacturer of the tank? Are we going to be able to sue the installer of the tank? That's when you need an environmental lawyer. Often we have to go against the insurance companies. Often we have to go against prior property owners, because we can determine through forensic age dating that the contamination occurred while they were in possession of the property. Environmental Rights Act cases. Now, these are fun cases. These are cases where you are asserting, you are enforcing the environmental laws of the state of New Jersey. And you do that by first filing an Environmental Rights Act notice and then filing a lawsuit. Types of cases: cases where there are local community problems, cases where people are impermissibly knocking down trees without proper permits, and those kinds of things. Things where the DEP or EPA should be enforcing the law, but they're not, and you need to come in to enforce the law. That's an Environmental Rights Act case. A lot of our clients that do this are nonprofit organizations who fulfill this role in their community. Bad neighbor cases. Now, that's a term that I came up with, but that's where your neighbor in a residential situation or an industrial situation isn't acting neighborly. They're flooding you out. That's the most common one. We see a lot of flooding cases. Everybody in our business sees a lot of flooding cases. New Jersey is a very densely populated state. And because of that, we've got a lot of situations where there's overdevelopment, too much impervious surface, and the water doesn't have any place to go except your backyard. They are blinding you with lights, floodlights perhaps, that are aimed at your property and not properly shielded. That could be a shopping center that's nearby or an industrial complex. They are making you deaf by too much noise from their industrial operations or their commercial operations or whatever it is, and they're violating the local noise ordinances and they're causing a problem. They're wreaking havoc. Insurance recovery cases. Those are cases where you need to do a cleanup and you want your insurance company to pay for the cleanup. Pre-1986, most commercial policies will pay for many, many kinds of environmental cleanups. After 1986, and this is the commercial context, that changes. For homeowners policies, the year was a little later than that. The cutoff was a little later than that. Of course, every case is very specific and you really need to analyze the documents. But we pursue insurance companies when they should be paying and they're not paying for environmental cleanups. Cost recovery litigation, that's where you have to do an environmental cleanup and somebody else should be paying for it because they were the discharger or because they were in any way responsible for the discharge. Toxic tort litigation, it's not fun. Toxic tort litigation is where somebody, heaven forbid, becomes sick because they consumed substances that made them sick. They lived near a gas station whose tank leaked into their well water, gave them benzene and MTBE. It made them sick. They lived near an industrial establishment and they were inhaling toxic chemicals. They lived near an area that has too much chromium and they became affected by that. That is the essential toxic tort litigation case. If you need an environmental lawyer, we're here to help you. That's our primary charge. The most important thing we do for our clients is we try to make things better for them. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable time with us.